Have you ever heard your mom saying things to you like, if you finish your homework today, I will give you a chocolate? Or your dad saying, if you don't wear your sweater, I'm not going to take you to the birthday party. And so on, things like that every now and then. We get to hear such kind of negotiations all the time. Why is it there and what is it doing to us? Well, in this video today, we will learn the concept of operant conditioning. Operant conditioning, sometimes referred to as instrumental conditioning, is a learning method that employs rewards and punishments for the behavior. Through operant conditioning, an association is made between a behavior and a consequence. Now, these consequences can either be negative or positive for that behavior. This type of learning was very well explained by behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner, and the idea was born with Edward Thorndike, and this kind of conditioning can have a powerful effect on your everyday behavior. Before we actually learn how operant conditioning works, let's first understand the concepts of reinforcement and punishment. What is reinforcement? Reinforcement is any event that strengthens or increases the behavior it follows. And there are two kinds of reinforcements: positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is when a desired stimulus is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely to happen again. For example, when your child studies, you give them a chocolate as a reward. So the child thinks, oh wow, I'm getting a treat. I think I made my mom happy by studying. Let me study daily then. So here what you have done, you have rewarded them for a good or desired behavior. Now the child will again try to show you that desired behavior in order to get another treat from you. Hence, we have given a reinforcement to the child. These kind of things happen a lot in our daily lives. Like, for example, school teachers, they use sticker, stars or smileys on those children notebook who show good handwriting, or the ones who complete their homework. So this is called as positive reinforcement. Next is negative reinforcement. It involves the removal or avoidance of any unpleasant stimulus after a behavior, which also increases the likelihood of that behavior. For example, you let your child watch a little extra TV and tell them it's okay. You can avoid going to bed for another hour or so because you have finished your homework on time. So here, when the child showed his desirable behavior, that is, he studied, the act of sending them to bed early was removed. So removal of an unwanted stimulus is also a reward. This kind of behavior is called as negative reinforcement. Next is punishment. Punishment is the presentation of an adverse event or outcome that causes a decrease in the behavior it follows. There are two kinds of punishment: positive punishment and negative punishment. So, first, positive punishment. Just because it has the word positive in it doesn't mean it is a good thing. Positive punishment involves the addition of an unpleasant consequence to decrease an unwanted behavior. For example, yelling at a child because he was not studying. This act of yelling is an add-on unpleasant behavior. Or another example is making your husband do extra household chores because he forgot your anniversary. So here, adding on chores for him as a punishment is called a positive punishment. Next is negative punishment. Negative punishment involves the removal of a desirable stimulus to decrease an unwanted behavior. For example, taking away the phone of your teenager because they misbehaved or argued with you. So here we are not adding on any stimulus but removing the desired stimulus, that is their phone, because of the unwanted behavior. Thorndike states that actions that are followed by desirable outcomes are more likely to be repeated, while those followed by undesirable outcomes are less likely to be repeated. So operant conditioning relies on a very simple logic. Actions that are followed by reinforcement will be strengthened and more likely to occur again in the future. For example, if you wear a yellow colored dress and you get loads of compliments that day saying the color really suits you well, you may like to wear more of yellow more often after that day. Or if you raise your hand to ask a question and your teacher praises your polite behavior, you will more likely to raise your hand the next time you have a question or comment. because the behavior was followed by a reinforcement or a desirable outcome. So the preceding action is strengthened. And on the other hand, actions that result in punishment or undesirable consequences will be weakened and less likely to occur again in the future. For example, if you tell a joke in the conference room and nobody laughs, you will be less likely to repeat the joke in a conference room in the future. Now let's learn about the reinforcement schedules of operant conditioning. Reinforcement is not necessarily a straightforward process, and there are a number of factors that can influence how quickly and how well new things are learned. First is continuous reinforcement and second is partial reinforcement. Now, continuous reinforcement involves delivering a reinforcement every time a response occurs. Learning tends to occur relatively quickly, yet the response rate is quite low. Extinction also occurs very quickly once reinforcement is halted. Let me give you an example so that you learn better. Let's say, for example, there is a child. I tell the child, look, if you will study today, I will give you a chocolate. So he feels like, wow, I'm gonna get a chocolate. So he studies and in the evening, I give him a chocolate. Same thing happens the next day or next time and then again the next time. So basically, every single time the child studies, he gets a chocolate. So this is a continuous reinforcement. A reward is given continuously every single time a desirable behavior is shown. Now, in this kind of reinforcement, the learning happens very quickly because obviously very quickly the child is going to get this idea that whenever I study, I'm going to get a chocolate. So studying is a desirable behavior and let me show it more often. So learning happened quickly. But there are two major disadvantages on this kind of reinforcement. The very first is that value of the reward goes down very quickly. Because when in life we get things very quickly and every time, by sure shot every single time, though we like it, but the value of that same thing reduces for us. We tend to get bored with it easily. Second disadvantage is that extinction of the behavior happens very quickly once the reinforcement is stopped. For example, I keep giving this chocolate to the child every time he studies and I do this continuously, let's say for 20 days. And then on 21st day, I don't give him any chocolate. Next day also I don't give him, and just for like 3-4 days continuously when I don't give the chocolate to the child after studying, very quickly the child learns that now reward is not going to come. Earlier every single time I was getting, but now it has stopped. So I will not get in future as well. So what happens is that the child stops putting in efforts as well. He doesn't study now because he thinks what's the use? I'm anyways not going to get the reward. Hence, continuous reinforcement might sound very good, but it's not that great of a reinforcement. The better one is the next one, partial reinforcement. Partial reinforcement means behaviors are only reinforced sometimes. For example, I tell my child, I'll give you a chocolate if you study. So first day I give him a chocolate, then on second day too I give him, on let's say third and fourth day I don't give. Fifth day I give him again, then again a rest of 3 days and so on. So randomly. So I give chocolate to the child randomly on any day and there is no fixed schedule. The child is being rewarded on and off on desirable behavior. Why this kind of reinforcement is better? Because firstly, the person doesn't too easily get bored of the reward. And another important reason is that this kind of reinforcement doesn't get extinct too easily because it works highly on hope and expectations. Because when the child doesn't get reward for 2-3 days, he gets sad, and when he gets all of a sudden after 3 days, that amount of happiness is high and your hope stays static, thinking, okay, I got it after 3 days, but so even later in future, if he doesn't get a reward for a few days, even then he keeps hoping that just like before I was not getting, I just might get any day now. I just might get any day now. So this hope keeps making him work hard continuously. This kind of reinforcement is also the reason for gambling addiction. Now what happens in gambling? In there too, you obviously don't get rewarded every time you gamble or sit on a slot machine. But you get rewarded just once in a while. Only because of this once in a while reward, you keep expecting that now, maybe just one more time I play, I might win. And that is the reason that gamblers are just not able to leave playing, cause this hope and expectation keeps them going. Hence, extinction of partial reinforcement is much more difficult than extinction of continuous reinforcement. Operant conditioning is something you may immediately recognize in your own life, whether in your approach to teaching your children good behavior or training the family dog. Remember that any type of learning takes time. Consider the type of reinforcement or punishment that may work best for your unique situation and assess which type of reinforcement schedule might lead to the best results. So I hope you liked my video, and if you liked, please do like, share and subscribe.